Do you ever want to use shear pins in your rocket and it has a paper tube and you're worried about the shear pins not shearing because the paper can get smushed? That's what I'm going to cover in this video.
Welcome to Advanced Construction Videos, where we show you how to tackle rocketry building techniques and more. On our website, we sell kits, motors, building supplies, and electronics. So come and learn, shop, build, and fly when you visit us at apogeerockets.com.
Hi, I'm Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. Today I'm going to talk about shear pins and how to use them in a rocket that has a paper tube. Now these are the shear pins right here. They're little tiny plastic screws, and the way they work is they're meant to be cut in half. And what this does is it keeps the parts of your rocket together so they can't prematurely separate before you're ready. So until the ejection charge goes off, the rocket is going to stay together. They're typically used on dual deployment rockets or high power rockets that have a nose cone, and you don't want the nose cone to come off too early. On this particular rocket, this was an eBay, and this was the forward section, and then the nose cone went on here. But what happened was the shear pins was in that hole right here. And I don't know if you can see it, but it didn't shear quite as nice as we wanted it to. And it drug the pin along the surface right here, and it made a nice little gouge mark in the paper. And the reason for this was because the paper is softer than the plastic. And so instead of shearing in half, it just kind of dug into the paper and then just finally just kind of bent over sideways and just dragged along. So we want it to shear. Now on this particular rocket, the outside tube doesn't have that problem. And the reason is because it's been fiberglass. So we have a layer of fiberglass on the outside of this tube, and then on the inside it's regular paper. So it's really strong, and it gives it really holds the pin in place and it doesn't allow it to move. But on the inside, the coupler was paper. So I have to fix this part, and the question is, how do you fix this? So let me see where this has got multiple holes here. So this is the hole that I'm going to fix. And my process is I'm going to take a piece of fiberglass and I'm going to lay it on the outside, and I'm going to try to recess it down into the paper so that my coupler will still fit into the tube. Now we sell this thin fiberglass sheet here at Apogee Components. You don't have to buy it from us, but this is probably the stuff you'd like to use. You might also, I was thinking metal, like from a tin can, but the problem there is glue doesn't stick to it, where glue will stick to this pretty good. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've cut just some small squares from the fiberglass, and it's still flexible a little bit, but it's really stiff and very strong. And like on the outside of the tube, it's going to hold that pin in place and not allow it to deform. Yeah, we want it to cut. So my first step is to get a pencil so that I can lay it on here and draw a line around it. So I forgot a pencil, so I'll be right back in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to take the square, just draw a line around it. Not a very fine point Sharpie, I'll tell you that. Okay, so now if I just tried to glue this to the surface, what it's going to do is going to stick up, and it won't slide into the tube. So what I need to do is to recess this into the paper. And if you look at the paper on this end, I don't have a lot of room to work with, but the paper is in layers. So what I need to do is to cut in there and then peel up the papers. The paper, I only want like maybe 1 or 2 layers. So I'm going to put this back down here because my line is so thick that I want to try to get it a little closer. And I don't want to go too deep. You know, if I go all the way through, well, that's too deep. Okay, so I've got my square, and here's the hard part, is trying to lift up the paper. I should have brought a tweezers. The paper's coming up, which is what I want. And kind of work the corners. As I'm going into it, I can kind of see right here, this is one layer of paper here, and I'm down to the next layer. I'm using a very sharp, very fresh hobby blade here. And I can see right here is also the seam line for that one piece of paper underneath. And then, you know, I do want to check every now and then to make sure if I'm deep enough. So if you can run your finger over it and you can feel that edge, you got to go deeper. Okay, I think I'm deep enough. When I press it down, I can just barely feel it. So at this point, I can glue it in place. And I'm going to use super glue. And the reason for that is this is very stiff. And if I tried to use epoxy on it, it's going to want to splay up like this. It's going to want to flatten out. And epoxy takes a long time to dry, where super glue, I think I can do it like really quick. The one thing that I worry about are my corners, because it's really hard to get into those corners. So I'm just going to take some sandpaper, just kind of round off my corners a little bit, so they'll go into there. And then I'm going to also scuff up the surface that I'm going to put the glue on, so that the glue has something to bite into. Okay, so that is going to go right in there like that. All right, so now just take my super glue. I'm going to put a liberal amount of glue on there. I'm going to have a plastic bag ready because I'm going to put this on there and it's all going to ooze out. Have paper towels handy. I'm also, on my hands, I have the Happy Hands Skin Barrier Cream. This is really good stuff when you're using super glue, because later on in the day, after you glued your fingers to your rocket, the glue will peel off a lot easier. Okay, so shiny side up, and okay, so I'm just going to hold this on here and press it down hard until that glue kicks off and cures, which won't be but more than a couple minutes. So I'll be right back after this has cured. Okay, so peeling off the plastic bag, and I'm just going to wipe it down, and it seems to be in there pretty good. There's some super glue on the surface. Now I need to sand it down a little bit just to get those, because that fiberglass, it wants to flatten out. It wants to pull these corners up. So this side's not bad, but this side has a little ridge. Right down the middle feels really good. I mean, as I'm going along, I can feel like I'm going down. So it actually is recessed here in the middle. So I'm going to take some my sanding tea, and I'm going to clean that up. I can kind of see that where I was sanding right along the edge, the middle, because it's recessed, the sandpaper is not getting down there, which is totally fine. I still got some super glue here on the surface. Sand that off. And the whole purpose of this is so that it will go back into the tube. So it goes into this end. I've got a whole big shock cord mess coming out. All right, so that's a pretty good fit. It's no tighter than it was before. All right, so now, let's see if I can find where the holes line up. I'm not sure exactly which hole it is because I need to re-drill that hole now through the piece of fiberglass. So I'm going to get my drill out and I'm going to find which hole lines up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I actually had the wrong part of the rocket that this goes into. It actually goes into the rear of the rocket. So this is the hole that I need to line up, because I can tell there's witness marks here. And when these line up, that should be okay. And I want to make sure that this hole on this side lines up. And just to make sure that it does, I'm just going to drop a pin into that hole and screw it in. I just don't want it shifting around on me while I'm drilling my hole. So I'm putting a pin on this side here, and that's going to lock it in place. And now I can drill this hole here, and I have my Dremel with the right size drill bit, and I also got the 256 tap that I'm going to tap the hole afterwards. If you need the drill and the tap, we sell them here as a unit, so that you have the right size for the shear pin that we sell. So I'm going to turn this on and drill away. Okay, that was quick and easy. And this, you can just do it by hand. So you want to spin it in there, and you can hear it. You go in a little bit, then you back it out, then you go in until you go all the way through. So this is cutting threads into the hole. Okay, I'm all the way through. So just back that out. And then we can put in our shear pin. Alright, so now it's locked in place. There's the shear pin. And if we take it out, we should be able to see the hole. Hopefully it was right in the same spot that the old one was. Oh, look at that. It was perfect. So that is fixing the shear pin problem so that it doesn't mush into and compress the fibers of the paper, because now that we got this fiberglass there, that's really strong, and it's going to shear it off the next time that we launch it. So on this particular one, I got to do the other side, and then I might want to do on this side of the coupler for where the main parachute goes. So my name is Tim Van Milligan. This is the Apogee Rocketry Workshop. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell once you hit the subscribe button. And what that does is it allows you to get notifications when we do these new how-to videos on rocketry. So may the winds be light and may the skies be blue, and may all your rockets fly straight and true.